after doing something for such a long time, having success and knowing what you're doing, it's difficult to say, okay, I'm going to go do something completely different. It's scary. Let's consider doing, something together. And I said, no.
Hey folks, I'm Brooks Derrick, and this is A Lawyer, His Friends, and Food, a show about local business owners, their journeys, and the thing that brings people closer together, food.
So originally, upstate New York.
Okay. And you as well, right?
Yeah, upstate.
How did y'all meet?
We met at a business conference. She was the VP's daughter.
Very nice. Very nice. And where was that?
In Hilton Head.
That's one of the stories where if I was drinking alcohol right now at a bar, I'd want to go down that road very far, but we won't. Let's see here. When did y'all get married? Or how long did y'all date?
Actually, this year it'll be 32 years.
So you better get it right. It's on camera.
I know. Yeah. Yeah.
32 years. Holy cow! And what were you doing at that conference? What was the conference? What was it about?
It was a sales conference.
Okay.
So I qualified for the sales conference, and Kim was there. She went with her dad, and we were talking, and she was going to Ohio State for college.
Okay.
And we started talking and had a great conversation, and conference ended and she went to college. And saw her at another conference 2 years later.
Wow, okay.
And that's where we started dating.
Yeah.
And I guess you were at Ohio State?
I was, yes, at that point I still was. And then I ended up transferring back to New York and finished school in New York.
Chasing a boy.
I did the chasing.
Oh, you did the chasing, yes. And where did you go to school?
High school or college?
College.
New Paltz. One of the SUNY, State University of New York.
Ah, okay. All right.
Everything is SUNY in New York.
Yeah. I knew that acronym or that word before.
Yeah.
Okay. And when y'all finished school, did you transfer to his school where he was?
He was already.
You already done?
Oh, yeah. Guys are, most of the time less mature than women.
Much more mature.
So there's a little age difference.
Yeah.
So here, yeah. So I've got her by 7 years.
Okay.
So yeah.
All right. Yeah. That makes
So I had
sense.
already finished.
Okay. And what were you doing then? Like when y'all started dating, and what were you doing for a living?
I was working for insurance and financial services.
Okay.
So it just got promoted, moved up to Albany, New York. And that's where that year I qualified for, again, a different conference.
Right.
And, and she was.
And your dad was running the conference or just a company that was going to the conference?
He was the
same company.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, he was just the particular area.
Okay. Now, so you're in, what year is this? How long ago is
91.
that? 91. 30 years ago.
Yeah, the first year we met was 89 at that conference.
The first?
Yeah.
Was the first time we met.
Yeah, 1989.
Yeah.
Yes.
We started dating.
1991 we started dating.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we got engaged in 1992, married in 1993. Wow. June.
So at 89, I was a freshman in high school, and then I finished high school in 93.
Yeah.
That's good years. Those are good years. And so how long were you in the insurance business?
For combined, because I worked with a previous company for about 30 years. Not for the previous, but with, combined 30 years. I was a director with Allstate for the last 23.
And what did you do at Allstate? What was your
sales?
Just sales.
I ran one time I had all of upstate New York, and then I took over 5 states, the DC states. I had Washington, D.C., Virginia, Maryland, West Virginia, and what am I forgetting? There's another one in there.
Pennsylvania?
Nope, I had Virginia, Maryland, West Virginia, D.C., and Delaware.
Yeah. Okay.
We're considered DC
when you
states.
say sales, what's that structure like? How does that fit within the framework of the local agent? Like, are you helping the local agents? Are you a separate kind
So it was, all of the sales leaders, they support the agents. So each sales leader would probably have anywhere between 20 to 30 agents that fell under them. Sales leaders reported to a district leader, and they reported to me. So I had the whole, and so from the independents to the financial specialists to, all of them, they all.
That's I didn't know how that kind of
But
worked.
it's changed since then.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting. That's pretty. I have good friends that are local agents.
Yeah, so there's multiple regions throughout the country. At the time, there was like 13 regions. So.
And what were you doing back then?
I graduated college, psychomaster, sociology minor.
Okay.
Went to graduate school for a couple of years, got pregnant, and decided that I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. So that was what I did.
That's great.
3 children.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, God bless you. God bless my wife.
8.
God bless all the wives that do this. That's great. So you're an insurance person, right? And do you have, through the course of your life until this adventure, did you have any food and bev? Did you do any service industry at all, or when you were younger, or anything like that?
Prior, through college, I bartended.
Okay.
Actually, I started bartending even in younger and running for parties. My parents helped as far as on the vendor side with the local VFW, so all of the dinners and clam bakes and everything. So we worked those for forever. I worked in the kitchen at a nursing home, other jobs that way.
Right.
We had some of that, and even on the business side, we still had to. It was from the business conferences to scheduling meetings and dinners and everything. You were involved, and we always gravitated to it because we'd go hiking and go visit different places, and all of the trips that we had, the sales trips that you'd go on, we'd find a brewery or a winery after doing that, and we kind of knew what we liked, from doing this. So it was a great pastime for us to be able to go to these things, and we liked the history of beer and wine, and kind of studying it. And from being a kid, it was like, oh, this would be cool to do this someday.
Yeah. So that's kind of percolating in your brain, just probably just logging memories, and as you're getting older. What's the conversation like with her when this opportunity first kind of brings itself to the head? Or where are y'all like with the relationship, not with the relationship, like where are y'all as a couple as far as work and family at that moment in time?
Like I said, she put her career on hold to do the family, and there was always something where there was always something more that Kim wanted to do. And at the end of COVID, there's an opportunity for an early buyout, and interest rates were good. It looked good, and we said, "Let's do this."
Okay.
I was interviewing for other positions in insurance, and for a time when I first moved from, we were in Rochester, New York, moved to Leesburg, Virginia. That we waited for my son to graduate, lived away from each other. Only I'd come home on weekends for a year and a half, and we didn't want to do that again.
Yeah,
it was tough living away and missing that part. So we took the buyout. I'm interviewing, and Kim said, this one place, she goes, I don't want to live there. I don't want to live here.
And this is what you're going to the interview, and you're like, well, I don't want to live there.
Yeah.
And are you in Virginia? Both in Virginia then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Some places he's looking to go back to Jersey.
Okay.
And she goes, I really don't want to live there, and I don't want to live apart. And it was really Kim that came up with the idea. She said, Samantha, our youngest, is at an age where she's good. I mean, at that time, she's going to be going into 11th grade.
Okay.
And it's not something where I have to be at home all the time, doing everything. Let's consider doing, something together.
Okay.
And I said, no. Like three times, and she kept researching it. But
then you start looking into the franchises.
Yeah.
And so what was your motivation of no? Like when she first broached the subject, what was your what was the reasoning?
Well, I mean, after doing something for such a long time, having success and knowing what you're doing, it's difficult to say, okay, I'm going to go do something completely different where you've got really no, forever, no real background for managing it, leading it, and how to do it, how to do everything. And it's scary.
Okay. And what are you like? When you're kind of hatching this plan, or not even a plan, when you're kind of putting this to him, do you have a vision of what that might entail, or just like, hey, let's do something together?
Well, for years it was always something that, say, I was happy to be stay-at-home mom, but I also was feeling like something was missing.
Yeah.
That I wanted to do something else.
Yep.
And he would always say, "Oh, you can do whatever. You can do anything. I'm like, I don't have any experience. I mean, I have the college, but I don't need. Oh no, you can do this. You can do this." I was like, no. And then when he did the buyout and he's looking other places and he was just not finding what he wanted, I was like, I could definitely do something, but to have him do that with me,
Right.
that
wouldn't be so daunting.
It would be easier for me because I'd have him doing it with me. So I kind of felt like I could sort of break out of my shell, and all those years that he said, "Oh, sure, yeah, you can do this. You got this." Like, sure,
Let's do it.
yeah, let's do this.
And when you're thinking of that, do you have what that thing might be? Is that like maybe we'll do consulting, or is it just let's put our heads together now and see what we can do together?
I think it's just coming up with something together that we liked.
We looked at a lot of different things. I mean, one was still interviewing, but we said, okay, it'd be cool. We have some finances where we could invest and do something. We could own something as well. Maybe you would do something and you would own it. Just a lot of different things. Yep. And then she goes, "Look what I found. What do you think of this?" So this is brand new. It's like it's just starting, and we've talked about joked around about something like this. Yeah. And I looked at it and I'm like, I don't know. And then kind of put it off. And yeah, we actually drove up to Pennsylvania and visited one of the little brew pubs that they had.
Yep. And
said, it's kind of cool. And it was still during COVID during that period of time, when we did it. But we liked what we saw, and said, let's look further.
And so they were looking to come down this way?
No, we were.
Y'all were. Okay.
Yeah.
But when you go up there, what other businesses had y'all looked at?
Nothing really that stood out.
Yeah.
This is the first one where it's like, this is something and you read about it.
Yeah.
And how everything's always made to look, easier than.
So they were advertising like, hey, we're trying to expand.
Oh yeah, this is the non-franchise where you're not going to be handcuffed to all of these rules and have to do all this stuff. So it's the non-franchise franchise. This is what it would take to get up and running, and a lot of it.
Experience.
Right, no experience needed.
So they're designing this as a situation like their business model is we get you on your feet. You maybe have a map of a plant, and then they're selling their beer. Is that?
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. And they're expanding, and I mean, if it's Western PA, they're very, very well known.
Yeah.
The other thing they had outside of PA at that time was they started Cleveland was the only one like out of state.
Okay.
And we were basically the first to say, okay, we'll be the first.
So do you how does that go? You submit an email form, or do you?
Actually did.
Yeah.
Yeah. They sent it out. They contacted, started having conversations, send franchise disclosure documents. You read through that,
Literally had to be.
hey, get your attorney and get something.
We had literally live in South Carolina though as well, because we were living at the time, and they wouldn't even put us until
they didn't have any documents yet in Virginia. Yeah. But we had already thought about coming further.
Yeah.
Kim's dad moved down here years ago.
Okay.
And we had been visiting. It's like KOA visiting, and we liked the Greenville area. Kim's mom's in Florida, and we're like, we don't want to go to Florida.
Yeah.
Don't want to do that. But here was kind of cool because, this area, you're you're still close to mountains and hiking and lots of cool stuff. Close, you can drive to the beach, Hilton Head and other places. And it was like, I felt really diverse. People that you met here were really, really nice. We said, let's take a look.
Yeah. Was there some assurances by them that if you move, you can do this? Or did y'all just kind of move and then, kind of like my golf?
I think it was a little bit of a combination. No, you could. Everything was fine for South Carolina.
Okay.
It seemed simple at that time, and if not, there's other options, that we could have done. But when we came down to visit and actually start looking at places, just, hey, there's this little thing I saw, and let's go visit and just see they're building new houses. And we went over, looked, and said, wow, they are. And we just put a deposit down to possibly build a new house, just like that. And I'm like, okay, we're really stepping out of the box now.
Y'all, up until that point, y'all have made very reasoned, objective pros and cons.
This is going way out of our way out of the box.
It sounds like it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, how did y'all figure out? Or maybe this is linked to the house, but how did y'all narrow in on Fountain Inn? Like, what made Fountain Inn be the thing that jumped off the page to y'all?
First place that we visited was the old mill spot.
Okay.
First place he took us to and said, here's something that's a future, we're looking at it. And the future was too far away. Like, can't wait that long as far as to, wait to build and do everything.
Okay.
And so it wasn't anything that was concrete. We looked at Simpsonville, Walden, we looked all over Greenville. But our thought process was, we've come from small town, we've lived in small towns. Yeah. And when you're driving around in Greenville, it's from the parking and traffic that something on the outside, like, Fountain Inn or Simpsonville would be, a cool thing because, not everybody wants to drive into, Greenville every time that they want to go do something. So we were looking at all different places, and on our own, we drove here. It was Saturday, myself, Ken, our youngest, and we pulled up and we saw on the big building, right outside here, a little sign on the door, and we looked in the windows, and we looked in the windows up here, and it was just had the realtor's name, and said, this would be a cool location. This town is growing, and it's. Like Kim's always said, it was the next Simpsonville with Fountain Inn, but better Main Street.
Yeah. Much better Main Street. That is wild. How did you find Dustin and?
Well, we were already with them, so we said, "How about this place?"
Yeah. Well, how did you find them initially? Did you find them was that through Googling or LinkedIn or was it?
I think Daniel found me. I don't know how he knew. I forget. If I go back to the emails, there's something where he reached out and we hooked up, and it was like that was.
Wow. Okay, that's pretty cool.
It was great because he introduced us to a lot of people. A lot of the contacts and leads that we had were all places that he started. 1885. The owner, Jamie's a friend of ours. Yeah. Another person upstate New York, Yankee fan. Hooked us up with him, and he's been a great resource. A lot of other my phone.
Okay, good. That's okay.
Yeah, other people as far as that we became contacts with because of those guys too.
Wow. All right, so take me through the build out. You look through the windows, it's like, right?
That part happened. The other part took a little longer.
Okay. And when do y'all make the decision? This is the spot. When is that?
I think we decided that it had to be in July. It would have been as early as July.
2021.
Yeah. And it took us all the way through.
Over a year. August 22, we opened the doors.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's funny because
it took us until that Christmas before we could actually, or past Christmas, to sign the lease.
Yes.
Of 2021?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Because we moved here, we moved into Fountain Inn, we go to the stop sign, turn right, turn left on Gulliver, and we on the left before you get to the end of the road. So we walk up here all the time. But we moved into that house in 2022, I think July-ish, probably. So like y'all opened, we were like, oh, we had that, you know. So take me through that process. You make the decision, this is the thing. What's the negotiation of the lease like? Just kind of the nuts and bolts of that.
It was a long,
Good
process.
and shitty, whatever.
Yeah, both of going through, because one is you're coming off of COVID.
Yep.
So even after we signed the lease, the build-out process was not easy, and it was way over budget because you had the cost of, I mean,
And we're going through building out this and our house. Yes. So we had two things going on at the same time.
right. Because our house was 6 months late as far as wood from what we were supposed to be in. And, we got Samantha going to her school, but we're driving from Greenville to here because we had an apartment there waiting, for the build. It was crazy. And then getting supplies sometimes. I mean, the garage doors, just getting the garage doors and ordering the hoods and the cooler. And some of those things were a 6 month wait.
Yeah.
Yes, because of
We
COVID.
my builder, I think you know Wojo, Matthew
Yes.
Wachowski. So when we signed the deal, he ordered our windows. I think he ordered our windows for our house before we had signed a contract because he knew that it was going to be 10 months or more to get the windows in.
Yep.
That's wild.
And when you look around you filming, his sister did all the artwork.
We did.
Everything in here is his
Erica
sister.
Durakis.
Yeah. The boards behind you.
Yeah, she did.
Everything up above.
That's wild. I adore him. He's a great guy. All right, so take me. You've never built
But see, that
something out.
that process was kind of cool at the same time because one, I wasn't working at the time. Kim wasn't working. So
And y'all were in a good financial spot, I'm imagining, right? With the buyout and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, but this was way over budget. So that part wasn't, all
I
that.
don't mean like you were riding smooth, but it was
Although
like,
Bigger
great,
than
but-
we expected.
Yeah. But it let us do everything. And it was, you moved through that crazy hot summer. And we're like, okay, we're not going to pay people for everything when we're physically able to do it. Kim and I and Kinsey, Tom, Samantha, the family, from building or doing the floors and all of the painting, inside and outside, to the pallet tables, to the lights and the boards.
Oh, y'all built all that stuff.
Oh yeah, and I've got a drill that we bought, so we make the flight boards, and we made the lights from the barrels here. Did that. So we got
Looking for doors to hang.
yeah. So these doors, for an example, the hanging door there, and all the doors upstairs. There's purposes behind some of those. I mean, two of them were the front doors of the building, and you save all of that. So we got involved in doing everything. So we kind of joke that if people look around, this place is imperfectly perfect. It's a brew pub, but I mean, if you look up, you're like, crap, Dave, I can see right now where I screwed up painting up through there. It's like I had no idea how to use a spray painter.
It's one of those things too where when you're doing that, I did a lot of stuff in my office of painting and redoing. 'Cause we have like a 1940s, 50s house that's kind of falling apart, but we did a lot of that sweat in there. And when you're doing that, for me, when I would start going to other places, like I'd go to the doctor's office and I'd go to the bathroom, and then you start looking at the details, right? The trim, and you're like, oh, that really looks like crap too. Like it's okay if mine if my paint lines don't pick up, because I've never noticed that before anywhere, and that was a little bit freeing for me. Is like, oh, it doesn't have to be perfect.
Yep.
Yeah.
It just has to.
Yes.
Yeah.
Downtown road. It doesn't matter.
And it did help too, because again, from going through with Dustin and Daniel, that our architect was recommended. In fact, now, we went to his anniversary, party in Greenville, but the building next door to us is like the design on that, goes along. The contractor was somebody else that came through, with them and that, that agreement. So, you kind of met all these different people through this process. And the builders right now, I mean, we have an issue, we call up and,
as long as it's not something you did, they
right, exactly. yeah.
Well, tell me about when the doors open. What's that first day like?
Well, you got to go back further because throughout the build-up process, our plans were, okay, how do we get ourselves out there and really become part of the community? So in Kim researched it, we researched Fountain Inn. There's some cool things about, Fountain Inn, that you kind of learned, even some history that goes back to where we were originally from.
Oh, wow.
Since the like
there was a connection to in New York and he loved the story with that. The fountain, obviously, that's where we got our idea when we sent it to our artist with Voodoo, and we said this is special, and it's
So y'all,
fountain and
that logo is just specific to here.
Yeah.
Oh, I had no idea.
Yeah.
That is really cool. I had no idea. I just figured that was like a voodoo.
No, because it's the fountain coming out of the mouth.
Yeah.
yeah, and that was Tom Ness.
Yep.
Yeah.
That is wild. Okay.
Yeah, one of the guys from Voodoo's an artist. He designs Tom Ness all of the different cans and all the logos and everything. So.
Wow. Okay. So that
Except the other one on the backside of the building because Erica took that off of another one and
put it. Okay.
Yeah.
So tell me, what do y'all? How are y'all marketing? What we did was using those kind of things.
Yeah, in the summer concert series, we would go there and have our shirts on and hand some stuff out. We did sipping in Simpsonville as far as that event where you're pouring.
We did a tap takeover on Pelham Road in Lowe's Foods, and that's kind of how we got Alex.
Yeah.
Okay.
We met people. So we poured at all these different functions and got out there.
Did you join the Fountain Inn residence page on Facebook?
At that time, no. I wish we did. I mean, I had such limited. I was always too busy to do Facebook.
Yeah.
Never did it.
Yeah.
So all of these other things, but when we were building out, there were people constantly becoming, and we gave little tours.
We would have to stop working and walk people around, and they would be all just sit. Even when we had signs that says "Please do not enter" because the floors were wet from us.
Because we just finished
out, and there were people standing in the middle of the room. We're like, "Hi,
Welcome to our place."
hi, floor's wet."
Yeah. Went to some chamber meetings and things that were invited, just meeting people.
Yeah.
But it took, we were here and we were, accessible to people to say, here's what we're looking to do, here's when we're looking to open, and just constantly, people was like constantly coming and looking in the windows and, hey, you want to see?
And unlike most insurance people, you're likable.
Yeah. I don't know. See, on the sales side, right? I'd say so. All right. Because insurances are like just usually viewed a little bit better than attorneys.
Just barely. Yeah. Some might say that you'll have a much better marketing arm than we do.
Right.
Your jingles are better than our jingles.
Right.
Your jingles and
we had mayhem.
Right. You instill confidence. Our jingles don't instill confidence.
We didn't just jump into the grand opening. We had basically friends and family, and then we had a soft, and then we had the grand.
And what kind of training or maybe marketing input or whatever did Voodoo have over kind of what y'all should do? Or not control, it's not the right word, but did they have any here's a video to watch, or you could say, I can't answer that question, and go to the next.
We were, a lot of it, since it was so new, you were
charting your own laws. Yeah. Okay.
We'd ask them questions and things. They give their opinion on stuff. We just didn't know.
Right.
How did you know how to do a soft opening or a friends and family opening, or
that was them?
Yeah.
Oh, that was part of their design. Okay.
But there's still people there now and they've been a resource since day one.
Yeah.
There's a handful of people that we've worked with. You call them up, they answer the phone every time, and they're a huge resource.
We had no idea. I mean, we went into the hiring. No idea. And we were over in we call it our dungeon. We were over there. It was like middle of summer, and it was 95, 98 degrees over there. And we're like, let's see if these people can sweat a little. If they're good. You would literally be sitting there sweating, having these interviews with.
If they couldn't make it through the sweat interview,
we're like,
forget about it.
Forget about it.
Yeah, but we did. We just had no idea on that aspect until they came for about a week, and they started helping us put things together. We're like, what are we doing? What are we doing?
And it's weird. I mean, again, one of the things that we try to do is approach this always as a customer, not as an owner of a business, because we didn't have this before. So we always, okay, what would we like if we went someplace? How would we want to be treated? How would we want to be handled? And even, especially the way that Kim is with our staff and our employees and, and the family, that didn't approach it the normal way. For them, we started out, we're not going to pay servers wages and everything else. And all of our front of the house, almost every single one of them has been with us since the very beginning. I don't lose any of them. Our back of the house, half the back of the house has been with us since the very beginning, which is very unheard of in the business. Yeah. And now it seems like, not only did we start with Kinsey, my daughter and son-in-law, and Samantha, but now we have all these other kids that are ours.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Our family has.
Yeah.
How did you figure out food costs and ordering and where to get the detergent from, or just all of that kind of stuff?
Sure.
Got hooked up with this company does this company does that. You had them come in, and there's ones that handle the mats and the towels and other stuff. Right. A lot of it's just trial and error.
Yeah.
Still.
Yeah. I'm always fascinated about in the food and bev industry as far as the food cost on the front end. You have to buy the shrimp, you have to buy the lettuce and all that kind of stuff, and then how you make that profit work on the back end, making sure you're not buying too much lettuce or too many tomatoes and.
Yeah.
That's been a learning process. Yeah. Absolutely been a learning, and not sticking with just one food distributor. We learned several play off of that. It's definitely helpful.
Is there any kind of a help component from corporate on that, or is that something that?
But there's a lot of industry stuff too. So they put tools out that you have where you're going to look at your costs of goods sold. So that with everything that you have, there should be a number that you're working towards. Here's your staffing costs. What percent do you want to be at? Ultimately, you'd want to be close to 20% as possible. We're going to pay a little bit more. Yeah. And especially in the beginning, you're going to pay more just for the fact that if you try to understaff and people come in and you're not able to take care of them properly and serve them properly, you're going to lose them right from the beginning. So you have to, pay more in the beginning. Here's the cost of goods. Here's the cost of your beer and liquor, everything. There's a formula for it.
Okay, that's good. And is that a thing that you've figured out on your own, as far as just the interwebs, or is that something that corporate says, here's your targets, or a little bit of both? A
little bit of both. In the beginning, mostly us. Now they're the other pubs that are come on, they've done a much better job.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I'm currently reading Unreasonable Hospitality. Is that right? Is that the right word? Is it unreasonable? Yeah, Unreasonable Hospitality. It's a book about. Do you know the book?
No, not yet.
It's good. It's a guy who I can't remember his name. I'll tell you after this is over. But he's a career service industry person, and can't remember what it's a restaurant in New York. It has an address. It was the number one restaurant in the world, and how he got there was through not doing well. Somebody might question me here, but not doing anything innovative on the food side, making the food perfect, but being innovative on the service side. And what you said a minute ago about I want to treat my customers like I would want to be as a customer, right? One of the things they say in the video, not the video, in the book is like when you see in the restaurant when somebody would stand up and go to they're leaving, but they're obviously still eating, asking where are you headed to? Is there something, everything okay? Right? Is everything okay? And I'm going to go feed my meter, right, in the city. And they're like, sit down. And they walk out there with their own, their 50 cents or their roll of quarters they got stacked in and feed the meter. Something small and easy like that. But that's where he's trying to say that the unreasonable hospitality, doing everything else perfectly, but then coloring it with these other things. It's a great book.
It is.
It's kind of what we do.
I'm going to read it, but I mean, our thought process and there's another book, it's been around forever, E-Myth Revisited.
Yes, that book is one of the things that just lit me on fire.
Right, and to me, we talk about all the time, consistency. Everything, the food has to be consistent each and every time, so that if somebody comes in and this is the way that they got shrimp and grits, it has to be the same every time, because that's what, we liked it the first time, it can't be different. And, Kim handles so much of that when she's in the kitchen, that doesn't come through, unless, okay, no, that's not coming through.
Yeah.
And
that's something that a smaller individual teams have a hard time doing, right? There's no you have a chef that might have a little bit more of a wild hair and wants to add peppers or whatever, right? Like, I think that's a harder thing to keep under control in a smaller.
We've had that, and we said, can't have it.
Yeah.
You can't, because it can't be, because then somebody comes in and they're like, well, this person did it for me this way.
Yeah.
But we don't, and this had happened, and well, that's not how we do it, but they made it this way for me. And it's like, unless you're going to do something for everybody, you can't.
I remember this. I remember that I remember, because before I knew you, either it was on Facebook or I heard you say it when we came in here or something like, or maybe it was somebody that was complaining about that. I think that's what it was early on. Somebody was complaining that y'all wouldn't change something up. And I remember thinking, I don't think that's the only way you can be good and repeat for me, the cycle time of preparing your chicken wings, if you have to do something else in there, you screw up the timing of everything else, right? And,
but I mean, not that you don't listen. I mean, for an example, when we first opened our beer board behind there, it didn't look like it looks now. And the customer says, it's hard to read that. It's like you have this one here and then this number over here, and it wasn't as organized as it is now. And we're like, oh, that makes perfect sense. Yeah. So you're like, boom, I think it was like 3 days later, took the drill out, we reorganized and said, it's going to look this way, and we're going to have this up here because it makes it easier for customers. I mean, if we design this place right now, we would design it differently because now you know how everything flows.
Yeah.
And flows, flows differently that way.
That's certainly trial and error. That's certainly like trying to figure out, I imagine not having experience in this thing. You're like, well, we're going to put the bar here and put the door, and we're going to have the flow. And it's like.
Right. But we also want, like the other part, the service part you talk about, when we're not here all the time, you want to make sure that, in this business model that the bartenders are looking at, there's nobody standing at the front. Maybe they don't know how everything works here. Go greet them.
Yeah.
Walk out. Hey, people just want to be talked to you. Do you know how everything works here? And you talk it through, and you have, that elevator speech for everybody so that they're getting the same service.
Somebody walks in and they're confused.
Yep.
They're like, wait,
your first time here, let me explain to you.
Is there a hostess? No hostess. No, come on back.
Right. Because we'd have issues like with the staff sometimes. Somebody would walk up and it's like, are you starting a tab today? It's like, that's not what you say. Have you been here before? And if they are, it's like, boom, you have that conversation with them where it's not so just transactional. And a perfect example would be, Kim and I. It's not the best example, but
I can't wait.
Here's my feeling was, I grew up in a Yankee fan. So Don Mattingly owns a restaurant. Okay. And then people, they'd go out to this restaurant, and I think it was in Indiana, and, Donnie Baseball is wiping tables. If he's not too good to wipe tables, I'm not too good to wipe tables and pick up stuff and do whatever need is possible. Kim's in the bathroom one time. Something was broken in there, and she's in the sink or something, like trying to fix something. And some ladies in there go, "Oh, look, it's Kim. She's the owner." And Kim's like, "Yeah, look at me now." You were sitting. It's like, this is the greatest. Living the life. Yeah. But it's like whatever you have to do, you do it. I mean, we've both been in from everything from the dish machine to cleaning this to whatever it takes.
That's the most is people saying to us,
You work so hard. And I'm like, yeah. And they just they're just like shocked about that. And they're like, well, you just work too hard. Or, this is why this place is really good, because you guys are always here and doing everything. And I'm thinking, but that to me seems like that's what you're supposed to do.
Right.
We can't always be here.
Right.
But that seems to be when we're told, we never worked for someone like you guys. We've never, most people don't do this. Most owners aren't like this. Most people and we're just like, we're shocked.
Yeah.
Like, why not? This just seems
natural. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not like we're trying to be different. We're just being who we are.
Yeah.
And that's what, I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like it's a family.
What's the, in the last, 2.5 years or almost 3 years, what's the hardest part, the crappiest part of this process? What was it during the build? Has there been a time when it was like, I don't know.
It's an easy question.
Yeah.
It's probably the best part and the hardest part, and I've pushed almost all of it onto her, is the staffing and scheduling part.
Yeah.
Just when people are on, when they're not on, and you have to study, okay, when are the busy days, when are the not busy days, too much, if there's too many people on, she's got me complaining that we've got too many people on. It's by far the hardest is staffing. And then somebody gets sick, somebody calls out. I mean, we had a time where, you've got to be careful. Some staff had COVID, so you're like instantly COVID tests for everybody in the whole place. You guys are out. This was less than a year ago. Everybody out, and we're in there and we're trying to figure out how to cook in the kitchen and do it ourselves, because you had to send them on their way so that everybody didn't get
Anytime during this process of you were worried it wasn't going to work?
In the beginning.
Yeah.
What yesterday?
Yesterday? No. I get it. When you open up and you're trying to figure out in the beginning where is that doubt come from, or what's happening externally in that at that time or whatever?
Just the things that are out of your control. You're out of control sometimes. It's out of your control with staffing. Somebody getting sick, somebody dying, somebody needing to leave or something else that way. It's out of your control. The hurricane was a huge wake-up call.
Oh wow!
I mean, I had we had in our garage a generator, and we're like, I didn't think we were gonna have to need it, and all of a sudden, that day we come down here, the power had got completely out, and myself and my son-in-law Tom came down, and
you all have food and everything in here, I guess, right? Everything.
Absolutely. I mean, so it just went out. So we're like, okay, we've got to get this generator. So we went back to the house, got the generator, couldn't get gas.
Yeah.
Half our time is waiting in lines to get gas to feed the generator. And, we had, it's her idea. So goes, make sure that with the generators, it's plugged into the ice machine. The ice machine where you've got all your roots all iced down, everything. And you still had losses because there's time limits on everything.
Right.
Or anything like that. It's like that. And there's things that we said, okay, people, they have no place to go and eat and everything like that. We set up at the road here.
Oh, wow.
And we made, right at the road, we did burgers and hot dogs and whatever else we could cook, at the roadside rather than that food going bad. But we lost, Friday, a Thursday or Friday, a Saturday, the Sunday. It was like our biggest days, and you're like, no control over this.
Yeah, and that's losing those 4 days in a month is a big.
It was. We had I think an event that was planned for down here, parties, and we had bands. It was a big weekend. I think that when that hit, It's that, I believe. Yeah.
When people were coming around though, and they were so
or-
grateful.
that we had food for them because there was nothing open. So they were so grateful. And then you just feel them like, because people say, oh, how's everything going? And with your place and, there's you losing it. And we're just thinking, yeah, we did, but we're grateful because we're all good. Everybody's safe. Nobody got hurt. Everything is good. And we were able to even give food to people and stuff. So we felt good about that.
And look at Asheville.
I know, yeah.
So
Somebody's got it worse than you.
for us, we just felt we were grateful.
Yeah. That's awesome. I saw the news this morning or yesterday. It said that DOT has picked up like 3 million cubic yards of debris.
Yeah, we've been behind them
Yeah.
on the road.
Well, is there anything that I haven't asked you about that
I mean,
that's what I always end depositions.
The reason that we did this is that you've been one of our longtime customers since we first opened. I mean, what's your perspective? I mean, do you see the consistency? Do you?
I do. I mean, I think it's for me as a foodie of small. I've eaten tons and tons of places, and what I said a minute ago. One of the things, the downfall of the I don't mean this in a negative, like the mom and pop, like the husband and wife team duo one place thing, is that oftentimes it struggles with the consistency of food, and maybe there's I don't think innovation is the right word, but just the presentation and the way that it is plated and what you see and the experience of eating the food can sometimes suffer, even if the food is dynamite. And I think y'all have done an amazing job as a husband and wife team of creating a restaurant that has the controls and the food looks amazing when it comes out. It always tastes perfectly prepared. I'm amazed every time. Me and my boys, me and my boys come here all the time, and they run around and throw stuff and spill things and all that kind of stuff. And y'all, I think that sign of unattended children will be sold to the circus. I think that's put up just for my children, but maybe I can make some money off of them.
Actually, yours are really good.
But I say that like I think it's just a testament to y'all. When my wife and I ate here for the first time, it was like, wow, that food is wonderful, and it feels like it feels, and the experience is much better than what my expectations were coming in, and y'all have continued to make them better and better, and I think it's just a learning from y'all right now. I think it's even more of a testament to y'all, because I was under the impression that it was more of a kind of a corporate understanding of how this should work, and it's more of a husband and wife understanding of how this thing should work, and that shines more light on y'all, especially as people who 3 years ago didn't know what the hell you're doing. Right? Yeah. Let's open a restaurant, honey. Hey, look at this thing. Let's have some beer at this Voodoo place in Pennsylvania and see what happens. Submit an online form.
Yes.
I hope I'm articulating that correctly. The food is fantastic, very consistent, wonderful presentation, always delicious. I like the new chips. I don't know when those changed at all, but I forgot about the waffles until today when I looked in the menu. I was like, oh, that's right, we had waffle fries a long time ago.
Yeah.
But I think apparently it's a credit to you and not to him that the food's so consistent. But it's wonderful. I mean, the food, everything. I had a really good habanero mango habanero shrimp the other day.
Yes,
that was dynamite, and y'all have done a great job here.
She killer her chef. Yeah. She comes up with most of the ideas. Sometimes we throw things at her. Hey, we want you to do this, that, but she comes up with most creativity. And she does a really, really, she's very artistic with it. She's new at the head chef position,
Right.
except we're new at the business.
Yeah.
Things
Yeah, all
kind of
credit for-
growing together.
Same as the drinks. Kinsey and Ona, because you have all of like the specialty cocktails that they do, the flights they did, specialty martini flight.
Yeah.
They come up with all of that on their own. It's like, it's so funny because even with the artwork, from, Erica Roberts, who does all the artwork for us, she'll come up and do the board and she goes, so what do you guys want? It's like, it's you. Kinsey and Ona, it's like, you guys come up with it. You guys, you have the freedom to, come up with, like, we'll lend some suggestions, but if you give them the freedom, they're going to do better than you could ever think, whether it's Shaquille in the kitchen or the team or Kinsey or Ona, that way.
I'm in, y'all.